What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here, as you all know by now, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the #1 scumbag, Rex Ruger. That is REXXX. You might also know me as AKA the King of Sleaze, AKA the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, AKA Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Take a look, folks. You ought to know by now that you're looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Boppa Loo Boppa Wah, Bam Bam, Shazam, hot damn. Woo! I am feeling good. Everybody in the house, including you all out there, my audience, looking good. For me, that is, of course, made possible by my favorite product. You want the quaff like Roth? Get you some. Coming to you, as always, from the lush lavender lounge of love, where it all goes down. Joined, as always, by the Keith Hernandez puppet, number 17 in your program, #1 in your hearts. That is my right-hand man. You want to host a podcast? Get yourself a puppet. Of course, we communicate telepathically, but that's a gift that we have between us. But I digress. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. You don't get no frills because you get plenty of thrills. And that is, of course, looking at the faces of myself and Keith. Today is no different. We got ourselves a good ass-kicking episode. I am, of course, the United Nations of podcasting, bringing you guests from all walks of life, from many different lands. And today is no different. We are headed to the home. Yes, that's right. Sorry, America. The home of death metal. And I don't know why it's the home. Maybe we'll be able to find out. Our guest is here. Let's chop it up with him and get down to business. See if we can
Hello.
fucking out. Hey, what's up, bud? How are you?
Hello, man.
Man,
I'm
it's
fine.
good. It's good to be joining you all the way from Sweden, and we're going to get to that very shortly. This is RICKARD PERSSON. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All the way from Sweden, in a death metal band that I think is going to be absolutely huge. CARNOSUS. Am I saying that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Man, I am telling you, man, Visions of Infinihility is an absolute beast of an album, man. I mean, kudos to you guys. But I want to start right off the rip right here, because in my little preamble before I got you on here, I was talking about Sweden. Why the hell is Sweden the home of death metal? What the hell makes Sweden so good? A couple weeks ago, I had Tobias on here from Vomitory. He attributed it to the bad weather and just everybody being inside and practicing a lot. Is that why Sweden gives us so much good goddamn death metal?
Yeah, I think that might well be the case. I mean, we also have this this culture of it's easy for young bands to get rehearsal space and get studio times and a lot of like government programs to help you get started as a young musician.
Really? The government helps you guys, huh?
Yeah, it's partly government, partly like voluntary. Yeah, but it's quite well funded program for that. So I think that might also contribute to that.
Wow, what a country, man. What a fucking country, helping fucking guys get started playing brutal death metal. Yeah. You know what, man? I might have to tell my wife we're fucking relocating. I don't know, man. We might have to get the hell out of here. So I'm curious, man. First of all, your upbringing. You're born and bred right there in Sweden?
Yep.
And how early did you know that you were going to take music as a career path? Did you have any aspirations of doing anything else?
Well, actually, no.
No.
so I play guitar for about 15 years. I'm 27 right now. And then when I started then in high school, I moved to Örebro, where I live today, and that's where I met basically the rest of the guys in high school in CARNOSUS. And we just, I mean, love playing music and make some cool shit. And
yeah. Well, you've definitely made some cool shit here. Now, what about influences? You know, what was the first group or band or music that really resonated with you, that really got you into music? Just music in general.
Music in general, I would probably say AC/DC.
Yeah.
Because my dad blasted it like pretty much constantly. So that's pretty much how I picked up the guitar, because I just wanted to learn some AC/DC riffs. And then I mean, most of my childhood were a lot of like classic rock.
Yeah.
And then actually, when I then got to high school and then met with the rest of the guys in CARNOSUS, at that time I didn't even listen to anything heavier than Metallica.
Yeah.
But they got me over to the dark side pretty much.
They pulled you in. They pulled you in.
They did. So
what was the first extreme metal band that you really gravitated to?
Yeah, I think that must have been Job for Cowboy. I think it was their Gloom EP. There's a song they called Misery Reformatory, which is a great fucking death metal song.
Yeah.
I think that was the first one I really like. This is the shit. Like, that feeling. And then it was a lot of like Black Dahlia Murder, Revocation, pretty much things like that. Listen to the States, and I guess you can probably hear some influences on our albums. Yeah.
So when you guys get together to write this album, what's the creative process like for you guys? Does somebody come in with most of the ideas, or do you guys, is it a collaborative effort? Is everybody involved in creating these songs?
So it usually starts with myself or the other guitar player, Marcus, having a riff idea. Sometimes that have a single riff and lays on like a hard drive as a guitar profile for like 6 months. Sometimes we just write a whole song in like, I don't know, 2 hours. But it's mostly some particular member's idea. It's not that much like sitting in the rehearsal space, everybody working that way. It's more like, of course, we refine it in the rehearsal space, and the drummer makes up his part and all of that. But it's mostly sprung from some idea that one guy had. And mostly for this album, I would say that so I started working on this album like right after we released our first album, Dogma of the Deceased.
Yep.
And we pretty much had, I think, 6 of the songs already completely written without the lyrics, which Jonathan, our vocalist, does all by himself, pretty much. And then, we like pre-production, and then just try to refine everything. And it took some time to release, that's for sure.
Well, I'm interested that you brought up the singer because I think, and it's Jonathan, right? Yeah. Now he does something very unique as far as like his approach to the death metal vocals, because he's not really a guttural kind of growler. He's got a very distinct, unique voice. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, totally.
And it fits the music extremely well, but I don't think that you can really compare it to anybody else. It's very unique.
Yeah, I think. Well, when I talk to him about this, I mean, he has a lot of inspiration coming from black metal.
Yeah.
which you can probably tell. And
can hear that, yeah.
Yeah, and then, well, he's just, he can do so much with his voice, man. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't even know, man. He's something else. That's for sure.
When you sit down to write these songs, what's your main motivation? Like, where do you get the ideas? I mean, you know, what kind of stuff spurs you creatively? Is it watching the news? Is it you draw inspiration from like horror movies or books? You know what I mean? Like, where do the ideas for these songs come from?
Well, actually, I think it springs mostly the stuff I write just from the love of playing guitar, actually.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, most of the riffs I come up with just happens when I just sit noodling around on my guitar, watching TV, and yeah, something on the guitar. I mean, pretty much that. It's kind of a boring answer, maybe, but that's pretty much it. Pretty much is it. Then lyric-wise, I would say, of course, horror, fantasy, sci-fi, some political sprinkles in there as well, I would say. But from the music side, it's actually mostly the love of playing guitar.
And when you're a young death metal band and you put out an album like this, like, what do you define as being successful? You know, is it writing an amazing album? Is it breaking big here in the United States or getting on a big tour? You know, I mean, like how does a young band kind of navigate through the music business nowadays?
Well,
yeah. I mean, what are you guys looking to do?
Yeah. Of course, first of all, we're super happy with the response this album.
It's great.
Has gotten. We're really happy with that. I mean, of course, you want to like sign with a label and with the management and with a booking company and all that. At the same time, we actually like doing everything ourselves, apart maybe from booking.
I hear that a lot with young bands. I hear that a lot, that it's almost easier to go at it by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, this album, we pretty much we got some help from a PR company just to help us with the press releases. But otherwise, merch, sales, shipping, I mean, every distribution, everything is run by us. It's taken its toll, and it's been pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of work. But yeah, what an aspiration. I mean, of course, getting over to the States and play for you guys there, that would be a dream come true. I mean, that's the goal for sure. That's the goal.
And when you start playing guitar, you know, I know you're being influenced by AC/DC and you're hearing classic rock, you know, at a young age. But why specifically the guitar? Like, why not the drums or the bass or wanting to sing? Like, what specifically about the guitar was it?
I mean, I probably listening to classic rock. I mean, all these guitar heroes like Slash and Angus Young, and I mean, I think it's just some guys you look up to, and then I mean, the guitarists are always the
I know everybody always wants to be the guitar god. I know.
Yeah.
That's true.
Bass player, I've never heard. And it was.
Yeah, I know that's not really the glamorous job in the band, right? Everybody always wants to be the guitar player or the front man, you know? Yep. So, yeah, that's true. That's true. So I probably don't really need to ask, but I mean, you know, in your particular area of the world where you are in Sweden, and I talked at the top of the interview about how great the death metal scene is in Sweden, but in your particular part of Sweden, you know, is the music scene there really great?
In our town specifically, so we live in a town called Örebro, which is Sweden's fifth largest town. We have about, I think it's about 300K residents in our, so it gives you an idea. Here, it's not that great anymore. It was a big hardcore city, and there were a lot of hardcore shows arranged, which we, at a young age, we of course joined them and played our death metal together with the hardcore, and it was pretty cool. But today, I mean, we have a pretty large club left, but I mean, it's not. You have to come like on a big tour package to be able to play. Basically, I mean, it's. But I mean, there are also a lot of cities in Sweden, of course, and we just in April we had I think we did 5 shows in April around Sweden, and it was fun. I mean, and it actually was quite a lot of people at most shows as well. So, I mean, it seems like. People are hungry for some death metal for sure. Yeah.
Are you guys, when you guys go out on tour, like what is everybody's personal situation like as far as being able to go out and tour for a long time? Because obviously sometimes people have jobs that get in the way of that and they're unable to commit to a lot of dates. Are you guys in a position where everybody in the band, has that ability to just say, hey, we could go out on a long tour and not worry about it?
No. Not at all.
No such luck, right?
Unfortunately, not. No, so we all work full-time jobs. Basically. But I mean, that's another good thing about Sweden. I mean, we have paid vacations, which we can take, and all of our employers are pretty generous on. And know our situation as well. But then again, we haven't really toured for real since, right before the pandemic, we did our last European tour.
And what was the pandemic like for you guys? How did you guys spend that time? I'm always interested how people that are in the arts field, how they spent that time. Did you just kind of use it as a time to relax? Did you do a lot of writing? Did you come up with a lot of material? Obviously everything was, everybody was quarantined. You couldn't do the things that you could normally do as far as going out and playing shows. So what was that time like for you guys?
So basically, it was writing, a lot of writings. For the whole of Visions of Infinihility basically was written during the pandemic, and also we recorded most of the stuff ourselves at home in our home studios. So that was basically our pandemic.
Yeah, that was a crazy time though, right? I mean, it leaves a lot of uncertainty, and obviously when you're in the musical field, and nowadays, being out on the road and touring is really how bands are making, really making their money nowadays. I mean, with album sales not what they used to be, so that's got to hit people in the pocket pretty hard when they can't go out and play.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
actually, a fun story about that was, as I said, our last tour, we went on the first part of the European tour that Suffocation and Belphegor did. We went as a starter band there. And so we finished our part of the tour in Greece, Athens. And this was late March 2020.
Right
When the COVID
right at the beginning
came to Europe.
So
it was pretty crazy time because the Suffocation guys, they did one more show in Zagreb, Croatia, and then they had to fly home because otherwise they wouldn't get home. And we literally had to pretty much race our RV from Greece to Sweden, 36 hours straight, no sleep, because they were closing borders. they were closing borders, and we couldn't be stuck there. So
yeah, you just want to get home. I know. So when you guys sit around and you write this album, you know, do you guys sit around as a band and conscientiously talk about, you know, like how, you know, what kind of format you want to release in terms of, like, obviously the music landscape has changed a lot. A lot of people are putting out singles. A lot of people are putting out EPs. There are still bands putting out LPs, you know, completely fully realized albums. Is that the direction that you guys like to go in, you know, putting out a full-length album?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, basically that depends on how much material we have.
Right, right.
So I think for the last album, Visions, it was never that was always going to be on a full album. But I mean, going forward, we have talked about yeah, we will see how things go forward. But I mean, we love the album format. We do, and both our albums are like concept albums in lyrics wise, and I think you have much more time to tell your story when you're doing a full album. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, you certainly do. Now, obviously, this album just came out here at the beginning of 2023. How soon do you guys start to think about the next album? I mean, obviously that you're hot on the heels of this one coming out, but you know, in today's musical world, it seems like everybody is so worried about being forgotten, you know, trying to keep your name out there and stay relevant and get material out. And there's so many bands and so many people making music now, you know, even from home. You don't even got to be good on an instrument. You can make an album right on the fucking computer. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So how soon do you guys sit around and think, we got to follow this album up?
So basically, this album, Visions of Infinihility, was completed, I would say, December 22.
Yeah.
No. So sorry, 21. I mean. Yeah. And then we actually, because of vinyl pressing wait times, we had to wait. I think it ended up being 11 months for our album to for the pressing plants to time. So that being said, we pretty much already written our next. So it's a continuing process where, like, you release or rather you decide on these songs are gonna go on an album, and then in the meanwhile, I mean, we're always writing.
Right. So you're sitting on material already for a next album already?
Yep.
And about how much material are you sitting on? Like, do you have a fully realized album all ready to go already?
No, not that. But we pretty much have. I would say probably 15 songs, which are like 80% done.
Yeah,
I mean that, and then of course this is just music-wise. Then Jonathan do his thing with the vocals, of course, and that's a whole process in itself. But yeah, we're nearly there.
And when you guys get together as a band, like you said, you guys knew each other as friends early on. Whose idea was it, you know, to really get you guys together and start playing? Like, like, what's the band's origins? Like, who really spearheaded this and got everybody on the same page and focused and said, let's do this? Let's all get together and become a band.
Yeah, so we have this past our ex-singer Olaf, who actually started CARNOSUS with another guy named Olaf in, I think it was 2012. So, I mean, the band name, at least, are over 10 years old, which is...
Right.
But then again, it was mostly for fun. I mean, wrote a couple of demos, but nothing really happened.
Right.
And then basically after high school, some guys basically had to move but because of life, and then we find our new singer Jonathan at that time, and that was pretty much at that time we thought, shit, this could probably become something if we
got
tried.
something here. Yeah.
And that's when we went in and recorded our first EP. This was 2015, I would say.
And when you find Jonathan, how do you find him? Does he come and audition? Is he somebody that you already previously knew? Because he's obviously, you know, a diamond in the rough. I mean, you know, you landed yourself a fantastic death metal singer.
Yeah.
How do you find him?
So he and our bass player, they actually sang in the same choir. They sang in choirs at the time. And also Jonathan had a YouTube channel where he did a lot of vocal covers, basically. And yeah, so we knew from the start that he was a great vocalist. And yeah, he came in, auditioned, and yeah, we just clicked.
And when you know, obviously death metal, I don't have to tell you, obviously extreme metal is not always the genre that gets the most commercial success. You know what I mean? It's certainly an acquired taste. You know what I mean? Metalheads love it, but it is very polarizing. It does turn a lot of people off for how heavy it is and how fast it is. Was it always the type of music that you specifically wanted to play? Because you said you weren't into it right away, though. You know, no. Did you have ideas of starting a band and not having it be death metal?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely did. And I think, to be honest, it was probably because, yeah, as I said, we were guys in the same class in high school. I mean, had I went to some other class, I mean, I would never have played death metal, I think. So yeah, for sure. I think at that time I think I listened a lot to Foo Fighters and that kind of, I mean, rock basically. And then I heard Misery Reformatory, and
so that's the record that they used to kind of. That's the album that they kind of turned you on to death metal with. You know what I mean? Like that was the one that really got its hooks in you. Now, who does this? You know, who's the one that really pulls you into death metal? Is it somebody in the band, you know what I mean, that you're friends with? Like, who's the one that's really influencing you as far as like, hey, you need to listen to this stuff. Hey, you know what I mean? Like, let's play this kind of stuff. You know, who is it in the band that gets you into it?
Yeah, it was a past vocalist and the current drummer, Jacob and Olof. I mean, at that time we were hanging out constantly. I mean, and they both were, already found death metal from like years before. So yeah, it was them.
Was it difficult for you to get into it first? Did you not like it at first?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Because it is one of the, it is one of those genres, as I said, that's kind of either take it or leave it. Usually, either people love it or they hate it. You know, I mean,
yeah. And as most people, I would assume that don't enjoy death metal is probably because the vocals.
Yeah,
and
it scares a lot of people.
Yeah,
it scares a lot of people.
Yeah, but I mean, then they told me kind of like, but just hear the vocals as another instrument and hear the rhythms, the little things that I think Jonathan does so goddamn well.
Yeah,
like those little things, and of course a drummer was just like, but yeah, listen to these drums.
Yeah, amazing.
I understand the guitar. I mean, whoa, how the fuck do they play that? And
yeah,
it was like some kind of revelation, like this is actual music. I mean, if you listen to it, and you just have to train your ear a bit to
Is Is it something that you struggled with as a guitar player early on, like with the speed and the proficiency? You know, because obviously, like, you were into, you know, classic rock, which is a little more, you know, it doesn't really seem as challenging, you know, to play. Obviously, you're not playing at a very fast pace, you know. Or did you find it challenging to kind of start playing classic rock and then kind of segue over into death metal, or did it come pretty easy for you?
No, it took practice for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, just tremolo picking stuff in the beginning. I mean, I had never even tried to play as fast as I could. Like, and I mean, but you also realize that everything basically originates from the same place. I mean, rock and roll, or even like blues and jazz. I mean, I at that time I wasn't really into music theory, which I this date it would have been good for me if I back then. Music theory and stuff.
I hear that a lot from people. Yeah, like they wish that they. But then I find it amazing though, because then you see guys like you know, like I've seen on record in like interviews, like where like James Hetfield from Metallica, you know what I mean? Like those guys don't even know how to read music. That just boggles my mind. You know what I mean? How they just get together and they just hammer out these great albums, and nobody really knows shit about music. You know, it's amazing to me.
But I mean, I think they unconsciously they know music theory. I mean, they know
they're picking it up as they go along. It's like on the job training. Yeah. You know, so to speak. I mean,
of course.
So obviously you're in CARNOSUS. Are you somebody that likes to juggle multiple projects, or is your main focus CARNOSUS? Do you have any other side bands or any other musical endeavors that you're involved in?
No, not at all. CARNOSUS is the only band for me.
Is it better that way? Is it better that way in today's musical world? Like, do you find it better for you just to kind of put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, and just concentrate just on CARNOSUS rather than, because you know, I talk to a lot of guys and see a lot of guys who are, you know, I'm in this band, I'm in this band, I sing in this band, I play guitar in this band, you know, 4, 5, 6 different bands. You know, do you find that that's probably something that you wouldn't be able to do very well?
No,
that's hard.
Pretty much, I wouldn't find the time to do it. To do it. I mean, seriously. I mean, working full time and I mean, life. I mean, you have lots of other stuff going on. I mean, I wouldn't have the time at least.
So when you're working, so when you're not working and you're not playing with the band, like what kind of stuff do you do to kind of decompress? Like, do you have like hobbies? Like, what do you do over there to kind of like, you know, to unwind and relax?
Pretty much video games. I would say.
That seems to be the universal answer, no matter who I talk to in whatever part of the world they're in. Everybody loves the video games.
Yep. No. Pretty much that. I mean, I also like in the winters here, go snowboarding, or I mean, just hanging out with friends and family. I mean,
so rock bands. So you're telling me that young rock bands nowadays are not doing any partying at all? Is there partying going on over there in Sweden?
Yeah, of course, the party goes on. But
okay. I just want to make sure, because that's obviously a big part of the rock and roll lifestyle, right? You got to be, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? We got to be enjoying ourselves a little bit, Rickard. You know, I mean, I'm curious, man. You know, as we're talking about partying here, and you know, obviously the laws over here in the United States for marijuana use have loosened up quite a bit. What's it like over there?
No,
strict?
Sorry?
Is it strict marijuana laws over there, or has it gotten loose?
No, it's strict. It's still in legislation. It's deemed as hard as heroin still. I mean, but I think, doesn't you have that same in your federal laws?
Well, it's gotten really dicey over here, man, because like you're like, you know, everybody pretty much turns a blind eye to it now. It seems like nobody really gives a shit no more if you're smoking or whatever. I myself really enjoy smoking. It's not really so much. it's starting to become viewed, I think, like public perception, where like, you know, you could be walking down the street and smoking and nobody really bats a fucking eyelash about it. You know what I mean? Nobody really cares. I don't think it's, I don't think now it's looked at really as any worse than somebody walking down the street with a freaking cigarette. You know what I mean? Like nobody really cares. And over here now in convenience stores, you know, you can go in and buy like CBD products. You can buy CBD oils. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, like right in a, you know what I mean? Like right in a convenience store. I mean, it's pretty crazy. You can go into dispensaries here. You can get medical marijuana cards where you can, you know, if your doctor fucking signs a piece of paper, you know, you can go to dispensaries and get, you know, and get the top grade shit. You know what I mean? Like the medical stuff. You know, so it's gotten pretty loose over here. And I'm always interested to talk to people from other countries to find out what it's like over there. So what's the penalty over in Sweden? You get caught with some weed, what happens? You go to fucking jail?
No. It's just pretty much the tickets, depending for so much you have on yourself. But yeah, I think Sweden actually has the second highest drug fatalities in Europe.
Yeah,
which I think is fucking awful because I mean such a progressive and country otherwise, and like we have a high standard of living.
Yeah,
but on this particular issue, we just suck. I mean, really. But I think I read somewhere that. That Norway and Finland, both neighbors to us, are actually losing up their drug laws. And especially for pot. But unfortunately, I don't think Sweden will follow anytime soon.
No. So you know, I like to say that other than metal, you know, Sweden is like known for the big 3 M's: metal, massages, and meatballs. How often are you eating them Swedish meatballs over there? A lot?
Basically, when I was a student, I basically ate meatballs, I think, on an average 3 or 4 times a week.
Holy shit, that's a lot of meatballs.
Yeah. But then I met my girlfriend, and she isn't a fan of meatballs, if I say so. So then, unfortunately, I eat less meatballs today, but it's probably for the best. But yeah, that and IKEA, of course, is and Volvo. IKEA and Volvo.
Oh, the company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit, yeah, I forget about them, man. Yeah, you got to associate them with Sweden too, and obviously a pretty damn good fucking hockey team all the time too, right? Like when you guys go to the Olympics, you guys are no joke when it comes to fucking hockey.
No, that's.
But you guys have pretty harsh winters over there, though, right? Like you have long winters, right?
Yeah, we do. But mostly it depends where in Sweden you live, because Sweden is a really long country. So in the northern parts, I think it's about well, I'm not really sure, but I would guess it's about 5 months of snow. Down in the southern parts, I mean, it's even seldom that we have snow. So I mean, it depends where you live. Of course.
Now, why did Sweden become associated with the Swedish massage? How did that all originate?
Yeah, good question. I don't know, actually.
Have you yourself, Rickard, ever had a Swedish massage?
No, I actually have no idea what it is. Really,
I was trying to research it before I talked to you, and I couldn't really differentiate the difference between a regular massage and a Swedish massage. It didn't sound a lot different. I feel like when somebody's getting massaged and rubbed, it's all the same, really. You know, I mean,
how different can it be, really?
How different can it be? Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, well, you know, obviously over here in the United States, you know, sometimes you can go to massage parlors that are, you know, not necessarily scrupulous places. You know what I mean? So, like a lot of shenanigans go on there where, you could get the proverbial happy ending, so to speak. You know what I mean? I know you're picking up what I'm putting down. You know what I mean? So of course, my sidekick back here, Keith Hernandez, he American baseball player, Keith Hernandez, but in puppet form. If you want to have a podcast, have your partner be a puppet. They don't say anything. They're the best to work with. Best to work with a puppet. I bet you if you could start a band with just puppets, it would be fantastic.
Yeah. Should probably have like the Swedish Chef and Kermit. Like,
wow, I'm so glad you brought up the Swedish Chef. I forgot about him too. Yeah, I mean, easily one of the best Muppets of all time. I mean,
100%.
Now, what sets those Swedish meatballs apart, though? How do you eat a Swedish meatball, and what's the difference between a Swedish meatball and the meatball that we would have here in the United States? You got to eat the Swedish meatball specifically with a certain sauce.
No, not really, actually. That's also a good question.
I mean, you got a ball of meat right there, right? Like, what do you put it on? Bread, a sandwich? Like, what do you make it with?
No, mostly you eat it with potatoes and lingonsylt. What's that?
Over noodles?
No, potatoes and some sauce, or you just eat it with pasta. I mean, it's nothing fancy, really. it's just basic food.
Yeah, you're not really talking it up too much, right? You're saying well, you also said you ate it 3 or 4 times a week, so you're probably fucking sick of them. You know what I mean? You've had all the meatballs that you probably want to eat already in your young life.
That's true. That's true.
If you never saw another meatball again, it wouldn't be too soon, right? I mean, you could probably live the rest of your life without any more meatballs, right?
Without that,
yeah, I'm sure you could. So as far as CARNOSUS goes, like now that you got this album out, what's the plan going forward? Are you guys doing a lot of touring right now, or trying to get dates for tours?
Exactly, we're trying. Yep, and. As I said, we're working on our next release. Hopefully, we together with our next release, we hope that we can hopefully to tour on that album. With some luck, I can't say too much. It will be exciting.
It'll be okay. And what's it take nowadays for a band in your position, to get over and play dates in the United States? Do you have to cough up money out of your own pocket? Do you got to pay to get on tours? Because I've heard about a lot of this stuff still going on. Like, I mean, obviously, if you're doing it yourself, it must be difficult to come over here to the States and tour.
Yeah. And mostly it's because it's expensive. The travel and of course then you have to probably go as on a tour package as a starter band, and of course, I mean, as the music business looks today and regarding touring, I mean, it's pay to play for small bands, unfortunately.
I know that's just the fucking worst, man. That pay to play is really fucking got to be tough on young bands too. I mean, who's got the money for that? I mean, it's tough. Yeah,
and also because there's no real money in this. The bands, the bigger bands, really haven't got the money to bring crew. So the younger bands, the small bands, are expected to, I mean, act as crew as well in certain instances. I mean, it's tough, but.
If there was a death metal band here in the States that you could open for, and you were able to play, you were able to put your promoter hat on, and you could put yourself on a tour, who would you love to open for?
It'd have to be either Black Dahlia or Revocation. I mean,
great bands. Is Black Dahlia going? obviously extremely tragic what happened to their lead singer. And you know, forgive me for not being up to speed on this. I probably should know this, but have Black Dahlia actually replaced their lead singer? Or have they found somebody?
So yeah, the rhythm guitar player. Oh, I forgot his name. Brian Esteban, I think. Yeah, he's now taking over Trevor's vocals, and they brought in their previous lead guitar player, Ryan Knight.
Okay.
Probably my favorite guitar player from Dahlia.
Okay.
So both he and Brandon Ellis, their current, are playing guitars, and Brian on the vocals right now. So I think that was a pretty cool decision by the guys to still keep it in the family. And
I like that move too. Yeah, I like that move. Yeah, you know, rather than going out and getting somebody else completely, I think it, you know, I think it says a lot about, you know, how they feel about the situation. And I think it shows the utmost respect, you know, to Trevor as well. You know what I mean? To kind of keep it in-house and say, you know, let's not go out and soil his reputation by getting somebody to come in and do his parts. It's better just to, you know, kind of slide somebody over that's already in the band. I think it gives him a lot more respect, you know?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. Yeah.
So you're already writing songs for this next album. You guys even sit around and talk about, like, you know, how fast you'd like to have it out? Is this something where you'd put 2 albums out in 2023, or is this something that's more likely going to come out in 2024?
But most likely 2024. Just because, well, basically because I think next album also will be printed on vinyl.
Yeah.
And I don't see pressing times at the pressing price for vinyl is getting any better. And I mean, even if we had a label, I don't think it would happen much sooner than that. I mean, getting the actual physical vinyls. So I think we're looking at a 2024 release for our next project, I would say. Yeah.
And what's the feedback been like? Like, what's the best feedback that you've gotten so far about the Visions album that you just put out? Yeah, I mean, are you somebody that are you guys, you know, the type who look at reviews or go online and see what people are saying about the album?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, but also it's of course fun to hear what people say. But,
sure.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good press. I mean, none of the bigger magazines or signs have picked it up, but I mean, just I think it was 3 weeks ago or something. Matt Heafy from Trivium posted something, and we were in his list for some new. I mean, so it's cool to see that people hear it. I mean, whoever it might be. I'm curious. How did you find out about our album?
I found out about it because, you know, obviously, you know, I go on Apple Music. If I'm searching up, you know, I don't know if you know how Apple Music works, but, you know, Apple Music is one of those things that either kind of follows the algorithm, or if you go on there and you search up a band, you know, like let's say I want to go and I want to listen to the newest, you know, Cannibal Corpse or something like that. You go to the bottom of your Apple Music page and it'll suggest, you know, other bands, like, you know, oh, if you like this band, you might like these guys down here. You know what I mean? So it'll have a bunch of other bands down at the bottom. And, you know, I was kind of struck by the name. I was like, wow, CARNOSUS. That sounds like a band that's going to be fucking heavy as fuck. You know what I mean? And a lot of it is just dumb luck. I like going on there and trying to, you know, trying to explore and, you know, expand my horizons. And I'm always looking for good new death metal, because it seems like it's, you know, it seems like when I want to listen to death metal, I always kind of go back to my old standards. I mean, I'm 50 years old. So if I want to listen to good death metal, I tend to go back to the Obituaries and the Cannibal Corpses and that kind of stuff. And I don't want to always be stuck in that same kind of mindset. I love doing the podcast. I love putting new, you know, I mean, it's always great to have legends on here, but it's also nice to kind of put some shine on like newer bands too, you know what I mean, and give them exposure, especially when I hear something that's really, really awesome. And you know, it's very rare nowadays, you know, for me to really be impressed by death metal, because a lot of it just comes off as just like a lot of blast beats and a lot of speed and a lot of just, you know, a lot of it is just the same stuff regurgitated a lot. You know what I mean? I hate to say that and be so critical about it, but a lot of it is just, you know, a lot of down-tuned shit and just a lot of just really fast and just, you know, so I think what you guys do is extremely interesting. And you know, certainly my hat is off to your vocalist, because he's really doing something, you know, I mean, that's outside of the box from what a lot of just the standard growlers in death metal are doing, you know?
Yep.
You know, he certainly adds like a very like unique layer. All you guys, I mean, you know, I've watched some of the videos, you know what I mean? Like you guys do those playthrough videos, and I've really enjoyed those, where you guys, it just seems like they put like a focus on everybody. You know, there's a bunch of them up on YouTube where you guys play through your songs. It's not really like you guys aren't really on stage, and it isn't really a video, you know, per se, but it's just different shots of you guys playing these songs through. There's good shots of your drummer playing his double bass. You know what I mean? It really showcases, you know what I mean? Like, you know, the high level of musicianship that you guys have too, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so they're really good showcases for like what you guys do. And it, you know, it's really nothing fancy, obviously. You know what I mean? As I said, it's not a video per se. It's just kind of like you guys just, you know, running through your songs. But, you know, there's something to it that's very artistic about it. You know what I mean? Like to see that music, you know, being played and the spotlight really just, you know, not so much on this big, you know, all these bells and whistles in a music video, but just really focusing on like you guys and your craft, you know, I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah. And it's much cheaper to do also.
Yeah, a lot cheaper to do. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I know. Because you can go out and spend a lot of money on a video. And there are people out there still doing videos. Like I remember back in my day, you know, you saw a lot of videos on MTV. MTV had Headbangers Ball. You know what I mean? Like they played heavy metal videos. Nowadays, though, people seem to make them and they go right to YouTube. But they do still seem like a useful tool to get your music out there, though. Are you guys into making videos at all?
Yeah, I mean, we had some plans that were was planned to do so we had everything recorded and could put some actual music videos out together with the singles, because it seems, as you say, I mean, you need every kind of media to like get your name out there. And of course YouTube is a huge one, but unfortunately we didn't have the time, and so it didn't happen unfortunately before. But I mean, we're still planning to do something more with the visions. I mean, and our vocalist Jonathan, he's doing a lot of one-take vocal videos on our YouTube channel as well. And yeah, but a music video, I think it's the right media, and I think we probably should do that. But it's expensive and it's time-consuming, and
So one thing that I see with a lot of metal bands, when you go to their Wikipedia page, you always see, and of course you guys are a young band, so you guys you know, don't have a lot of years under your belt yet, but you do tend to see a lot of ex-members. You know what I mean? Like you'll see a revolving door of people joining a band, quitting a band, joining a band, quitting a band. Do you feel like the Carnosus lineup right now is very stable and everybody's on the same page, and you know, everybody's enthusiastic about going forward? Because obviously the music business right now is extremely tough. You know, a lot of people aren't really trying to get into the music business because of how hard it is right now. So, you know, do you feel like everybody's on the same page and kind of rowing in the same direction?
Yeah, I feel definitely this lineup. I do. I mean, we all have the goal to become full-time musicians. Yeah. But it's still mostly a hobby to all of us, and we understand that to take it to the next level, you need to work really hard, which I think we have done with Visions. but you also need a bit of luck.
Yeah, you do. That's true. You hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, you do need some luck or like the right person to notice. You know, it does help. You know.
Yeah.
Now I know you said you guys do it. You guys are very do it yourself. You know, when you make an album like this, do you shop it around to labels though? Do you try to get on a label?
Yeah. Of course. We had some pretty promising talks with a few labels, and especially one major label, but unfortunately the timing wasn't right. It was just in the high period of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there was really no motivation to like push a young band when we weren't able to tour or that. So I think the timing was not the best. But then again, I mean, I quite enjoy being independent. I mean, we still reach out to people, obviously.
Well, it's got to be a little easier too when you're shopping an album that's so good as this album, though. Like, you got to be extremely proud of this album, and it shocks me that there wouldn't be some nibbles out there. You know what I mean? Because this is like an album that you're shopping it around, and you can obviously tell that this has been like really polished. You know what I mean? Like, this is, you know, getting rave reviews, and it is a great death metal fucking release. I mean, you know, I would think though that eventually you'll land on a label. I wouldn't see if you're going to put out death metal that's very unique like this. I don't see how labels are going to be able to keep passing. You know, I mean,
no, yeah, thanks. I mean, yeah,
I mean, come on, all you people out there at the labels, fucking smarten up already, right? Jesus Christ, man. So listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on here, man. I'm so glad that I found your band, man, and I really salute you, man, for putting this album out, man. I mean, it is really a masterpiece, and I think it's the kind of album that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's going to hold up, I think, as a death metal classic. I think it's going to be one of those albums, that's going to be like, like an obituary, cause of death, or it's going to be like one of those albums that's going to resonate, and it's going to hold up well, I think, over time.
Oh, thanks, man. That means a lot.
I mean, and I really appreciate you coming on here, man, and joining me. And I know there's a time difference between us, so I appreciate you staying in touch. And I know it took us a while to put this interview together or whatever, man. But it's been a real pleasure talking to you, man. And I really wish you guys all the best. And hopefully we can keep in touch and we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I would love that, man. Yeah. So I appreciate it, Rickard. Don't eat too many Swedish meatballs, and stay off that goddamn snowboard. Don't hurt those fucking hands. Be careful out there, okay?
Yeah.
Be careful. Those hands, those hands are your moneymaker.
Yeah. That's true.
And definitely stay out of those Swedish massage parlors, man. You don't need to be monkeying around in there, man.
No.
Yeah, that's a good way to lose your girlfriend. You don't want to be caught in those places, man. But yeah, man, you're a good sport, and I really appreciate you coming on here, man. Thanks so much, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Talk to you soon, buddy. Later.
See ya.
Take it easy, buddy. Folks, that is RICKARD PERSSON. He is the guitar player for CARNOSUS. Let me spell it for you. CARNOSUS. And if you don't know these guys and you're into death metal, go check out the album they just put out here, I believe in January of this year, Visions of Infinihility. Trust me, this is death metal at its finest. Need I say more? The boys are from Sweden. Right there, they've got the death metal pedigree, because all death metal that comes out of Sweden is fucking massive. So go check these guys out. They are a great young death metal band with just 2 releases under their belts, but they are fucking doing their thing. And I wanted to tell them, instead of the Swedish massage parlors, go to the places that give you the old rub and tug. Those are the places where you really get bang for your buck. You know what I mean? You want the happy ending. I don't know. Something might have been lost in the translation. Of course, Keith was no help at all explaining it, even though he's been in those places a million times, you know, rubbing tugs, happy endings, brothels. I mean, Keith has done it all. But, of course, a mouthful of teeth, as usual, adds nothing to the interview. Thank you once again, Keith. But anyway, the conversation about music, you know, all that other stuff aside, these guys are brilliant musicians, man. Go on and check out some of their playthrough videos on YouTube where you really just see them playing their songs, you know, in their rehearsal space. They're awesome musicians, awesome young guys. CARNOSUS. Go check out 2023's Visions of Infinihility. It is a monster of a fucking death metal album. I can't say that enough. CARNOSUS. That is a band that in the death metal circles you will be hearing about. Trust me on that. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Thanks again to RICKARD PERSSON for joining me all the way from Sweden. Like I said, I am the United Nations of podcasting. I've got one scheduled with one of the guys from Harlot, all the way over in Australia, amazing thrash metal band. I've had Tobias on from Vomitory, another Swedish guy. I am all over the map. I am a man of the people, a man of the world. Rex Ruger, right here. So until we get together again and do this thing, remember, kids out there, take it easy and remember to keep it sleazy.